Okay, hey Ceramics 3, I'm going to show you how to make the insert lid. So we're going to start just like always, just like we did with our bowls and our cups. We're going to start with a piece of clay. You gotta get centered. So just remember, good pressure in, and then press it down. Okay, press it in, and then press it down. So just like with the bowls and the cups, the more clay you have, the more difficult it's going to be. So don't bite off more than you can chew. Compress your bottom. Okay, so this is where it's a little different than what we've done before. As I bring the wall up, I want to keep the top a little bit thicker. Okay, so we're going to bring it up just like normal, just like we did with the bowls and the cups, except as I come up, I want to leave a little extra clay up here. So as I start to throw this, and I get up here to the top, I'm going to leave a little extra clay. If you happen to go too thick, or too thin, excuse me, one thing you can do, I will pinch this clay or hold this clay a little bit. I use my sponge, I'm going to put a little bit of downward pressure, and that will sometimes, I'm pushing it down there, that will help you get a little extra clay right here at the top. So you're going to throw it just like normal, just like you threw your cups or your bowls. Bring the clay up, but as you get up here, you're letting off that pressure a little. We want to keep a little extra clay right here. Okay? Okay. So go ahead, take your time, make your form how you want. I'm going to go ahead and just make this a nice straight-walled, simple vessel. Just like we talked about before, get rid of your extra clay so you don't have as much to trim. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to create the gallery. This is where the lid is going to sit. Okay? And you can do this a few different ways. You can do it with your finger, but I tend to use a rounded tool. So what I'm going to do, get a little bit of water on there. I support with my fingers here, and I'm going to take that, I'm going to put it, kind of imagine there's a halfway mark on the rim of this. So imagine there's a halfway line right there. I'm going to place the tool on the inside of that halfway mark, and I'm going to push down. Right, and you can see that creates a little gallery, and that's where your lid is going to sit. Okay, so if I want to refine that a little bit, have fun with this, you can do whatever you want. And then once you get the form how you want and you have your gallery, I'm going to get rid of a little bit of this extra clay, just so I don't have as much to trim later. Okay, and then just like always, use your wire tool. Make sure you cut your bottom. Okay. Now with the lid, you can imagine this is going to be way too much clay, but what's neat about this is we're going to do what's called throwing off the hump. Throwing off the hump means basically you have too much clay, you make a big hump of clay, and you're only going to throw a certain section of this, so we don't have to throw all of it. So the nice thing about this is we have a bigger piece of clay than we're going to use, and we don't have to center all of it. Then once you get kind of as much as you want, you're going to start to throw this. But before we throw it, I want to actually measure my jar so I can see how much or how big of a lid I need to make. So for that, we're going to use our calipers. And now we know how big our lid needs to be. Now what's cool about this is normally I open the clay from the middle. Here I'm going to move my finger off to the side a little bit and push down. And what's so neat about this is you're making the lid and the handle all in the same throw. So this is going to be our handle. And you don't have to worry too much just yet about throwing this. We can play with that later. We want to make sure our lid's going to be the right size, so you can see it's maybe just a little bit small. So what I like about making lids is normally we throw up. For this, we're going to throw out, which I always think is kind of cool. So I'm going to squeeze out a little, bring this clay down. Okay. Check your size. So a little big there. Now if it's too big, it's not a big deal because we can trim it. If it's too small, then we have a problem. So always err to the side of making it bigger than you need to. I'm just using the wire to trim that off, just like we do when we make our cups and we trim the rims. So it's just trimming the side there. I'm going to smooth that out, make it a nice round shape. I'm going to go back with my rib. The handle looks a little too big, I think, so I'm going to just okay, if something like that happens, no big deal. You still have this clay right here. You can still make a nice little grabber. Okay, so got my handle, got my lid, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take underneath of here is a lot of clay. I'm going to push that clay in a little. It's okay, I'm just kind of pushing it in, and then I'm going to use my wire tool to pull that through. Okay, so now that. Okay. So first thing, this needs to be centered, so make sure you get this nice and centered. Okay. I put a little bit of pressure here, push down. You're gonna trim this just like normal. Take your time. You don't want to trim too much, right? So again, if your lid is too big, it's nice because you can trim, but if it's too small, you can't do much. Yeah, it looks great. And then the last part we need to trim is all this extra clay in here. So the one thing that happens when you throw off the hump is you can get S cracks because you don't have the opportunity, like when we're throwing on the wheel head, to compress the clay. So here we need to make sure we really compress this clay well. Okay, so once you get down in here, really take your finger, take the time to really compress this, smooth it out, make it nice. Can you do rib if you need to? And that is your insert lid. Now, the jar part, we will trim just like we trim our cup or our bowl or whatever.